光復香港，光復香港，光復香港。It's a privilege to join you today, and I do so once again to unite my heart with your hearts and with the hearts of every single Hong Konger who wants freedom, who fights for freedom, who stands with Hong Kong. And it is amazing to see Parliament Square filled with so many Hong Kongers. But as we come together, our hearts, of course, are very heavy. Heavy with grief at what has been lost. Heavy with remembrance and mourning for those who gave their lives. Heavy with sorrow for those who have been in jail and who remain in prison in Hong Kong today. But that is why it is so important that we do what we are doing now, that we come together to remember and reflect, to share the heaviness of our hearts together, to share the burden of grief together, but also not only to look back and feel sad, but also to look ahead at what more we can do. Today is not only a day of remembrance, although it is very important that we do every year remember such anniversaries as June 12th. And this month is a month of anniversaries for Hong Kong. The Tiananmen Square massacre, which we marked last Saturday. At the end of this month, we will mark the 25th anniversary of the handover and also the second anniversary of the imposition of the draconian national security law. But today we remember the events of June 12th, the events of 2019. And we can do so with sorrow, but we can also at the same time be inspired by the incredible courage of Hong Kongers 3 years ago. Not for the first time, and I know not for the last time, Hong Kongers took to the streets day after day, 1 million people, 2 million people. And we must now, outside Hong Kong, continue that fight. It's no coincidence that this rally today takes place outside our parliament. And I want to say two things going forward that we can do to continue this fight. Firstly, I want to give the British government credit for the BNO scheme, for the amendments to the BNO scheme, and for doing a lot to help Hong Kongers get out of Hong Kong to freedom. And that deserves credit. And I want to say to all of you some words that I said last year on this very day, June 12th, in Trafalgar Square. I say again in Parliament Square 5 words for you and for anyone from Hong Kong still planning to come to the UK. These 5 words: you are very welcome here. But I believe, even though the government has done a lot, there is more that it can do. We need to do more to welcome you, to make sure that you are helped with the challenges you face of building a new life here, and especially for those who, even with the amendment to the BNO scheme, those who still don't qualify for BNO, those who are stuck in the asylum system, those who are waiting many, many months with an uncertain future in the asylum system. We, our elected representatives, our parliamentarians, our government, should find a way to fast-track those asylum applications or find an alternative to asylum for those who, even with the amendment to the BNO scheme, still don't have a chance to enter in that way. And so I hope we can do more for you. But even though the British government has done a lot to help Hong Kongers get out of Hong Kong, and I believe other governments should do the same, and we in Hong Kong Watch are working hard to persuade Canada, Australia, the United States, European countries to do their part as well, to do more to help Hong Kongers. But even though these governments we are looking to help Hong Kongers get out of Hong Kong, nothing has been done to change the situation on the ground in Hong Kong. It is intolerable, unacceptable, and outrageous that the Chinese Communist Party regime and their stooges and quislings and puppets in Hong Kong, who are responsible for, firstly, the police brutality, the shocking police brutality in 2019, and then through the national security law, who are responsible for totally dismantling Hong Kong's freedoms and autonomy in total breach of an international treaty, the Sino-British Joint Declaration, in total breach of promises made to the international community. It is intolerable that they are so far made to pay no price for their actions, and that cannot continue. So we will do everything we can, and I hope you will use your voices also to demand that the British government impose sanctions on those responsible for doing what they have done. If they are allowed to get away with doing what they've done with no consequences, with paying no price, with total impunity, then not only will they be further emboldened to be even more repressive in Hong Kong, but they will become an even greater danger beyond China's borders. The dangers for Taiwan will grow, and indeed the dangers for our own freedoms in this country will increase if the Chinese Communist Party regime and their puppets in Hong Kong are not made to pay a price. Hong Kong Watch recently published a report on the assets of some Hong Kong officials who have property in this country and in other countries. And 110 parliamentarians from both houses of parliament have written to the Foreign Secretary demanding that the British government conduct an audit of Hong Kong and Chinese Communist Party officials who have assets in the UK, and that audit should pave the way for sanctions. I want to say one last thing. As we today remember the events that happened in Hong Kong, and as we today renew our commitment to stand with Hong Kong and to fight for freedom, let us also remember everybody who is suffering repression at the hands of the Chinese Communist Party regime. As we stand with Hong Kong, let us also stand with Tibet and with the Uyghurs and with dissidents and independent bloggers and whistleblowers and Christians and people. I think Beijing heard me. Okay, we got back, thank you. Let us stand with everybody suffering under the CCP rule, with Tibetans, with Uyghurs, with Christians, with civil society activists, with people whose organs are forcibly removed. And let us stand with Taiwan as the pressure on Taiwan increases. And I end just by reminding us all of the wonderful slogan of this rally: be water, be united, fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong, Guang Fuk Hong Kong, Ga Yao.